Scattered Spider. If you work in security and don't fully understand this group yet, this video is for you. They didn't use a 0-day. They didn't breach a firewall. They made a phone call. One phone call to an IT help desk and pulled off a £300 million attack on Marks and Spencer. Contactless payments down. Online store offline for weeks. 750 million wiped off their market cap. And the people responsible, mostly teenagers and 20-somethings from the UK, US and Canada, speaking perfect English, who learnt their craft modding video games and hijacking crypto accounts. In the next few minutes, I'm going to break down exactly who they are, how they operate, what they've hit, and what you need to be doing right now. Let's get into it. So let's set the scene. Because Scattered Spider isn't a threat group in the traditional sense, and that's exactly what makes them so difficult to deal with. Most of us learn threat intelligence with this mental model. You've got nation states, or advanced persistent threats, like Cozy Bear or your APT-41s, doing long-term espionage campaigns. And then you've got your Eastern European ransomware crews, organised with a hierarchy, running like businesses, two distinct worlds. Then Scattered Spider blew that model up, but they started as a loose, decentralised collective of what I describe as digital natives. Most of them between 16 and 25, native English speakers, deeply familiar with Western corporate culture, and that last part, that is their weapon. They came up through something called the COM, short for the community, an ecosystem of cybercriminals who hang out on Telegram and Discord. In the COM, your status comes from the scale of your hacks. It's reputation based, it's competitive, and a lot of these guys started out doing things like SIM swapping, where you hijack a phone number to steal crypto, or building cheats for Minecraft and Roblox. Not exactly the profile you'd imagine for someone who could bring down a FTSE 100 company. But here's the thing. Those early activities built exactly the right skill set they needed. Social engineering. Understanding platform mechanics. Knowing how to manipulate people online. And they scaled it up massively. Now, as of early 2026, they've evolved into something even more significant. They've merged with Lapsus and Shiny Hunters to form Scattered LAPSUS Hunters, or SLH. Think of it as a supergroup, a federated brand of cyber criminals. But we'll get into that in a bit. Let me walk you through how this group evolved, because it tells you a lot about where they might be going next. In 2022, we had the Octopus campaign. This is where a lot of us first noticed this group. A massive SMS phishing campaign targeting over 130 organisations like Twilio, Cloudflare and DoorDash. They built fake Okta login pages and used them to hoover up credentials and session tokens at scale. The simplicity of it is what should have been the alarm bell. No sophisticated malware, no complex exploit chain, just a convincing phishing site and the patience to use stolen sessions before they expired. Then, in 2023, we had the MGM and Caesars hacks. This is the one that really put them on the map for the wider industry. The MGM Resorts breach in September 2023 was attributed to Scattered Spider. Slot machines down across Las Vegas. Hotel keycards not working. A massive operational disruption. And all because someone called the MGM IT help desk and convinced them to reset credentials for a privileged account. But what made it worse? Well, Caesars Entertainment reportedly paid approximately 15 million US dollars in ransom to avoid the same fate. And that story only came out later because a disgruntled affiliate leaked it. Think about that for a second. Two of the biggest casino operators in the entire world. One refused to pay, then suffered weeks of disruption. One paid tens of millions to keep it quiet. That's the business model. That's the leverage this group goes after. Then, in 2025, the Scattered LAPSUS Hunters era began. By August 2025, the landscape had shifted significantly. Senior members were getting arrested, but instead of the group collapsing, they merged. Scattered Spider, Lapsus, and Shiny Hunters formalized an alliance, and critically, they pivoted from data extortion into full ransomware operations. They ran AI-powered phishing campaigns against Salesforce customers. They hit Qantas Airlines, exposing data on 6 million passengers. They launched their own bespoke ransomware platform, Shiny Spider, and they deployed Dragon Force ransomware against Marks & Spencer. The pattern here, and this is worth noting in your threat models, is that the arrests didn't deter them. They adapted, rebranded, and came back with a more industrialized capability. I want to spend a minute on the M&S breach specifically, because the timeline tells you everything about how this group actually operates in practice. It started in February 2025. An attacker contacted a help desk agent at Tata Consultancy Services, one of M&S's third-party IT vendors. Classic Scattered Spider playbook. They'd already done the LinkedIn recon. They had the employee details, and they talked the agent into resetting credentials for a privileged account. For the next 2 months, they were in Tata Consultancy Services environment. Quiet, patient, moving laterally. They mapped M&S's infrastructure through that vendor connection. They identified VMware vCenter as the high-value target to go after. Then, on Easter weekend, maximum disruption, minimal staff. Dragon Force ransomware deployed across M&S's virtualized infrastructure. Contactless payments went down. Online ordering died. Staff were writing inventory on pen and paper. The financial hit? An estimated £300 million in operating profit. 750 million in market capitalization wiped out over the following weeks. And here's the thing that should keep you up at night. M&S's own perimeter security was probably fine. The attackers never needed to touch it. They went through the vendor. That's the playbook. Keep that story in your head, because everything I'm about to cover in the technical section, the phishing, the session theft, the living off the land, that's exactly what played out at M&S over those 3 months. Let's get into those tactics, techniques, and procedures, because this is where it gets really interesting for us as cybersecurity analysts. For initial access, they have 3 key techniques. The first is phishing, or voice phishing. They do reconnaissance on LinkedIn to build convincing employee personas. Then they call your IT help desk. They already know the employee's ID number, their manager's name, maybe even their home address, all through open source intelligence. And they ask for a password reset or a new multi-factor authentication device enrollment. Most help desks are incentivized on call handling time and user satisfaction. Security is often an afterthought in that workflow, and Scattered Spider exploits that gap ruthlessly. That Tata Consultancy Services agent who reset credentials in the M&S breach, well, they were just doing their job. They were trying to be helpful, and that is the problem. The second technique is MFA fatigue, sometimes called push bombing. If you've already got your credentials, bought off a stealer log, or compromised through phishing, they'll trigger repeated MFA push notifications on your phone, over and over again, at 2 in the morning, until you just hit approve to make it stop. It's not sophisticated, but it works, because it exploits human psychology, not software vulnerabilities. And third is adversary in the middle phishing, using toolkits like Evil Engine X. They stand up a convincing fake SSO portal like Okta or Microsoft Entra ID, whatever your target organization uses. When the victim logs in, the proxy captures not just the credentials, but the authenticated session token in real time. MFA is irrelevant at that point. They've got a valid session. Remember that Octopus campaign in 2022? That's exactly what they did at scale. 130 organizations, all through spoofed Okta login pages. Moving on to post-compromise. Once they're in, they're exceptional at staying quiet. They lean heavily on legitimate tools that are already on your network, like AnyDesk, TeamViewer or Screen Connect, remote monitoring and management tools, because they are allowed listed by your EDR and there's no alert generated when they're used. For cloud environments, they'll use AWS Systems Manager to do host enumeration. They'll exfiltrate data to mega.nz. They'll target VMware vCenter to escalate privileges across your virtualized environment, which, if you paid attention, is what happened at M&S, and it is how they position themselves to deploy Dragonforce across the entire infrastructure in one shot. In terms of MITRE attack mapping, you're looking at T1598, phishing for information, T1621, MFA request generation, T1539, steal web session cookies, T1219, remote access software, and T1537, transfer data to cloud account. Let's start with the Spectre rat. More recently, they've been deploying a C++ based remote access Trojan called Spectre rat. It's modular, does process enumeration, software discovery, pulls additional payloads from a C2 server. It uses XOR encoding and base64 for communication, employs mutex logic to prevent multiple instances, and abuses code signing certificates to blend in with legitimate software. What makes it noteworthy is the use of a legitimate tool, psinfo.exe, for software discovery. This is a living off the land binary, and it's specifically looking for your security tools, so that the group know what they're up against. Next up, we have the shiny spider ransomware as a service platform. This is their custom ransomware, written in Go, launched in late 2025. It hooks ETW event right to stop encryption activity from being logged to the Windows event viewer. So, if you're relying on just Windows event logs to detect ransomware, then you'll be blind to it. It also deletes shadow volume copies, then fills the free space with random data to prevent forensic recovery. That's not just encryption, that's deliberate destruction of your ability to recover. So we've just walked through exactly how this group gets in, how they move, and what they deploy. Now let's talk about what you can actually do about it. And I'm going to tie each one of these directly back to the techniques we just covered. Your help desk is the front door, so lock it down. Remember the phishing technique, the LinkedIn recon, the convincing phone call, the password reset. Every major scattered spider intrusion we've talked about today, from M&S to MGM to Qantas, started with a help desk agent doing what they were trained to do, being helpful, and that's a gap. The fix isn't a new tool, it's a process change. You need a verified callback protocol before any privileged action is performed, like a password reset, MFA device enrollment, or account unlock. The agent has to verify identity through a pre-registered, out-of-band contact, not the number the caller just gives them. A number already on file, and a video call if you can swing it. And you need to be testing this regularly. Run phishing simulations targeted specifically at your help desk staff. Not generic phishing awareness, actual voice calls that use the pretexts these actors deploy. The locked out executive, the remote employee who can't get access to their phone, or the contractor from a named third-party vendor. Your people need to have seen these scripts before the real one comes in. I'd argue this single control, verified callbacks, would have disrupted the majority of Scattered Spider's documented intrusions. Next up, we have your MFA solution, and it is probably phishable, so let's upgrade it. Think back to the 3 initial access techniques I discussed. Push bombing works because push-based MFA lets the user approve without context. And adversary in the middle phishing works because session tokens get captured after the MFA challenge is already satisfied. The answer is FIDO2 compliant authentication. Hardware security keys like YubiKeys or passkeys. They are cryptographically bound to the physical device and the specific domain. An Evil Nginx proxy can't intercept them because the key will not authenticate against a spoofed domain. Start with your privileged accounts, help desk operators, IT administrators, anyone with identity management permissions, then expand over time. In the meantime, deploy risk-based authentication. If someone's logging in from a device in a new country at 3 AM, your identity access management platform should be raising the friction, not just waving them through because they tapped a push notification. This one's less obvious, but it's critical. Once Scattered Spider is in your environment, they don't just use it and leave. They set up shop. They abuse OAuth app registrations in Okta, Azure AD, and Salesforce to maintain persistent API level access long after that initial compromise. Even if you reset the compromised user's password, even if you re-enroll their MFA, if the threat actor managed to register a malicious OAuth application, they've still got a foothold in your network. So audit your connected applications regularly. If someone has approved an unfamiliar app in your SSO environment, particularly an account that was recently reset, that is a red flag that you need to chase down. Next up is your supply chain, an entry point you need to get a hold of. Go back to the M&S story. Go back to Qantas. Both organisations were compromised through third-party vendors. For M&S, it was through Tata Consultancy Services. Qantas, through a customer service platform managed by a vendor in Manila. Their own perimeter security was largely irrelevant, because the attackers went around it entirely. Annual vendor security questionnaires are not going to cut it against this group. You need to extend your security requirements contractually into your supply chain. Continuous monitoring of your critical vendors' security posture. Contractual breach notification timelines. And whenever possible, apply data minimization. If your customer support vendor does not need passport numbers or credit card data, then they should not be storing it. Then we have the virtualization layer, the kill shot. Remember how Dragonforce ransomware was deployed at M&S? They hit VMware vCenter, the hypervisor layer, and encrypted the entire virtualized environment in one go. That bypasses traditional endpoint controls completely. Your EDR on the guest VMs does not help when the attack is happening at the hypervisor level. You must isolate your VMware ESXi management interfaces from your corporate network. If these guys reach vCenter, it's game over for your entire infrastructure. 2 more quick wins. Maintain a definitive allow list of approved remote monitoring and management tools, and enforce it through your EDR. If AnyDesk or TeamViewer runs on a host where it shouldn't exist, that should generate an alert immediately, because that's exactly how Scattered Spider maintain access once they're in. And while you're at it, tune your detections to catch lol bin abuse, specifically ntds util.exe running outside of scheduled maintenance windows, and psinfo.exe being executed in unusual contexts. Spectre uses psinfo for software discovery. If you see it where it shouldn't be, that is a high fidelity signal. Let's talk about where this group is heading, because I think 2026 is going to be a significant year for this threat actor. First up, we have law enforcement who are making some progress, but it's not a deterrent for this threat group. Between 2024 and 2025, there were significant arrests. These are real outcomes, but the group's structure means they're resilient to this. It's a decentralized organization. When a senior member gets arrested, someone else in the comm steps up, often using the arrested member's exploits to build their own reputation. The emergence of the Shiny Lapsus Hunters Alliance, announced while sentencing was being handed down, tells you everything about how deterrence is working, or rather, how it's not. Then we have AI-enhanced social engineering. The most significant capability development I'm watching is the integration of AI voice cloning into their phishing operations. With as little as 30 seconds of audio, they can generate a synthetic voice that's convincing enough to fool a help desk agent who is under time pressure. They're already using this. The Salesforce campaign back in May 2025 used automated AI voice agents to scale the operation. Campaigns that used to require a skilled social engineer per call can now run automatically across thousands of targets at once. Then we have the critical infrastructure. The Jaguar Land Rover incident in late 2025 demonstrated something important. These actors don't need industrial control system specific exploits to cause industrial impact. If you can get into your ERP system, if they can get your VMware environment, the operational technology downstream grinds to a halt anyway. That's the vector for critical infrastructure impact, and it's already happening. So what is my assessment of this group? The Scattered LAPSUS Hunters Alliance is moving toward a fully industrialized extortion as a service model in 2026. Smaller affiliate crews operating under the Scattered LAPSUS Hunters brand, with centralized back-end infrastructure for ransomware negotiation, data leak sites, and target reconnaissance. More campaigns running simultaneously, with less sophisticated actors behind each one, plugging into the Scattered LAPSUS Hunters ecosystem for the capability they don't have on their own. What I want you to take away from this is that Scattered Spider represent a genuine shift in how cybercriminals operate. They don't operate from a state-sponsored bunker. They're young, English-speaking, culturally fluent in the environments they're targeting, and they've figured out that your identity infrastructure and your human processes are softer targets than your perimeter firewalls. The organizations that are going to weather this the best are the ones that treat their help desks as security controls, not just operational overhead. The ones that have moved to phishing-resistant MFA, and the ones that have genuinely extended their security perimeter into their supply chains, rather than just tick box compliance. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. What's the hardest part of defending against social engineering in your environment? Is it budget? Is it culture? Is it getting leadership to take it seriously? I read every one of these and it shapes what I cover next. I'll see you in the next video. Happy hunting.